Hello there. Today's video is gonna be of history, and it's the Ides of March today, the 15th. So beware of the Ides of March, but I'll tell you a little later for that. But first, I'm by the Susquehanna River, the west branch of the Susquehanna River. It once used for logging and rafting, and nowadays speedboat racing. Here in the Lock Haven area, there's a history. I'm doing a little bit of history on what I call Boom Island. But first, a little bit of history of the west branch of the Susquehanna, or the Susquehanna Basin, River Basin. It's one of the oldest rivers in the world. In fact, the Appalachians, where the Susquehanna runs, is the oldest mountain range in the world. It's over a million years old, older than the Andes and the other mountains that's around the world. Yes, even during Pangea times. I'm just gonna tell you the island is a islet. It's a small island in the middle of the creek, river, or maybe even in the middle of a strait. I'm coming down here to the lumber yards in a boat up on top of the dike levee. At the boat. I'm going to read what they have here and on here. But these lumbering, this is up on top of the dike levee behind the former brickyard, which is a Catholic school behind me. Lumbering was the obvious economic choice in Lock Haven, which was surrounded by miles of forest when it was founded. Many lumbering companies sprung up, and the West Branch Boom Company was prominent. The West Branch Boom Company charter. Get off the. Okay. Sorry, I had somebody go behind me. Okay. The West Branch Boom Company was chartered in 1849, and Lock Haven's first mayor, Levi Mackey, was very active in it. Property values grew due to the lumbering business, and community expanded. The battle over Boom Island. The lumber years in the Boom Island. Lumber was the biggest industry in the early days of Clinton County. Lock Haven was granted permission to use the river for lumbering in 1859, but the first economic reasons, the city of Williamsport went to court, and as a result, Lock Haven was allowed to use only half the river, the south side, and line in the sand. Dividing the river was Boom Island, which you can Boom Island, you can see from the vantage point. Attorneys Samuel R. Peel and Seymour Darrell Ball went to battle in court to have the dividing line erased. Their efforts last 20 years and eventually ended in victory for Lock Haven in 1879 toward the end of the lumbering era, and they were granted permission to use the entire river. Log booms is a man-made structure created from timber and stone used for directing and sorting the logs for various lumbering companies in the Susquehanna at Lock Haven. The piers were 40 of 60 feet and base tapering to 16 by 20 feet at the top. They were all placed about 150 feet apart. A great lumber jam in 1874. That's the lumber mill near Lock Haven. Lumber on sleigh at Lock Haven. The document with various symbols is a list of what called jobber stamps. They were used to make the logs belonging to a certain company. Logs were typical lashed together as a raft to transport downriver. Hammer stamps were used to mark the log to indicate ownership. Photo credit to the Ross Library. Log stamp hammer. I'll stand back a little bit so you can get a little bit better angle on that. Bark peeler. Alright, well, I'll give you a better view here. But over time, if you can see, they are called cribs. These little islands in between. But over time, this island was split in two right over here at one time. Right over in the eastern section, it was split in two right near the end there. But you really can't see the cribs at this time, even though the water is slightly down. But I'm gonna give you a little bit of history, good and bad, about the island. Well, there was when they had the booms, there was people, the ones that the log separators. There was several that didn't make it in that case, but that don't usually be in the papers of back then. But over time, this island was used for different activities, which would have been some activities in some cases. One, I'm on a dike levee, which was built in the 1990s. I think of 1993 when it was first used, and it saved a couple times. But the city of Lock Haven, the boom, is one of two that was on the west branch of Susquehanna. As you say, you've seen read that back here. Williamsport had the other one. But the boom is one of two that was in Clinton County. The other one was in Flemington area, up in Allison Township. It was up that way. There's a boom up above the canal up that way. Many floods over the time wiped out the trees a couple times on here, especially the 72 flood. But this region was used for logging, as I said, and they did have so much in there. Many recreation stuff happened, or would have happened, but people a couple times took out the one section of the island area and made it so they can camp on the island a couple times, but that's not really allowed, but they did anyhow. But I can go back as far as 1892. Logs are being rafted out of the boom at night, now by the aid of two arc electric lights on the island. This is rather innovation in the river, and this was in the Clinton County Democrat, and they have the April 7th, 1892. And then the Boom Island cave destroyed after claiming the life of a city youth, and this is from 1964. I thought it was the 1980s, but it was 1964. 13-year-old, just saying, last name was Weaver, suffocated after the roof of the cave collapsed, covering him with tons of sand and earth. The cave, by the time the people got there, he suffocated, and the other, this caused a stir over other islands in the area, and if they seen a cave, people seen a cave, they would blow the cave up with dynamite, so no other cave person would get injured. But in back to 1851, a scenic view boom island in the Susquehanna River. There's some photos of the boom at the library. There's one from 1851, 1912. Then there's JWC, was a famous photographer, photoed the island in 1952. 1952. Turning the century, I don't have the paper I was looking for, but I can tell you in the turn of the century, a person wanted to turn the island into a, can you believe it, amusement park. They wanted to put chairs that goes up the mountain back down, like down Knoebels. They wanted to put them in here. They wanted to put a carousel on the island. They wanted to put a bathhouse on there, and a couple other things, a beach, so people could swim over there. It's kind of like a mini amusement park, kind of like would be the be like Coney, kind of like Coney Island. That's kind of strange, but what I can tell you a little bit of the cribs could. Here, let's go back to the cribs. The cribs could hold 300. The boom consisted of 352 cribs, or man-made islands of stump and sunken timber. Stone or sunken timbers. I don't know why I said stump. They were 22 feet high. The booms were connected to each other by chains of floating logs. At the upper end of the boom was the 1,000-foot-long sheer boom, which could be opened and closed. It gathered the logs at the lower end. Men and boys as young as 12, known as boom rats, would sort the logs by the sawmill brand that was burned into each log. Each sawmill had its holding pond along the river bank where the branded logs would go. The construction of the boom in 1851 was possible by two things: transportation and steam engines. The completion of the West Branch Susquehanna branch of the Pennsylvania Canal to Williamsport in 1834 and the opening of the first railroad in 1839 allowed the finished wood product to go to market year-round. The gradual use of the steam engine to power sawmills allowed the large mills that could explore what's the use of the water power. Because of the Igneous log boom at its location near abundant old growth forests, Williamsport became one of the most prosperous cities in PA and the nation. At one point, it boasted more millionaires per capita than any other city in the United States. Well, Lock Haven had a couple too. You ever heard of Millionaire Row in Williamsport? It's called a Millionaire Row up here on Water Street, up here on West Water Street, here in Lock Haven. Over time, there's been people, since the dike levee was put in, this doesn't get used as much, but up there near the end up there was an area where you dock the boats and stuff up near the end of the dike levee, and you could I used to swim there when I was younger. But all right, well, that's pretty much all I have, and I hope you enjoyed the history of Boom Island. And right now it's late. It's in the middle of it's near the beginning of spring. Well, it's 5 days before spring. But all right, well, I hope you enjoy it, and guys, have a good day.